Take a look around you. You're sharing the world with a group of killers whose lethal nature is matched only by their beauty. They're high-tech assassins, deadly to man and beast alike. And they're amongst the most terrifying creatures on Earth. Prepare to enter the death zone of secret nature, where your only chance of survival is to learn the snake's secrets. Snakes, the deadliest assassins imaginable. There are 2,700 species alive today, and all are efficient killers. Their victims smothered to death, or injected with venom so potent it can kill a man in minutes. They bite 1 million people each year, and 100,000 die. They're terrifying, and they're here to stay. Snakes can be found all over the world. They've adapted to every habitat but the poles, where it's simply too cold. Evolution is driven in part by an animal's surroundings. So snakes the world over match their size, shape and colour to suit the conditions they live in. It's a process known as convergent evolution. Look at this boomslang and green mamba. Both have evolved in rainforest canopies to have long, slender green bodies, large eyes and fast-acting venom. Killing prey quickly is essential in the treetops where it can easily escape. Snakes are most varied in tropical forests because there's a wide range of food and a constant, favourable climate. Under these conditions, they've become specialists. This one, for example, feeds mainly on frogs' eggs. But despite popular belief, snakes are rarely found in large numbers here. Most live solitary lives. Temperate forest is a poor snake habitat. Snakes need sun to keep warm. The cool climate means species like the Gaboon viper and European adder survive by concentrating around sunny clearing. Desert covers 30% of the Earth's surface. Conditions here are near perfect for snakes. More species can be found in the desert than anywhere else, and more of them. At first sight, you might think the desert lacks the prey necessary for snakes to survive. But being reptiles, snakes are cold-blooded. They don't use food to produce body heat, just the heat of the sun. That means they can survive on 1/5 of the food other creatures require. They can last as long as 3 years without feeding, and while you or I would quickly die from dehydration, in the desert, a snake's scales prevent the loss of water. Swamps and marshes are common the world over, and are a favoured habitat for snakes. With frogs and fish in abundance, food is plentiful and readily available. Grasslands cover 1/4 of the Earth's surface. Here, prey suitable for snakes are few and far between, and predators like this secretary bird are common. The few snakes that do live here tend to eat a wide variety of food, and are found in other habitats too. With oceans covering 70% of the Earth's surface, it's little surprise that snakes have even invaded the seas. But being cold-blooded, aquatic snakes are confined to tropical seas where the water's warm and fish shoal around coral reefs. It may sound surprising, but today we're most likely to come across snakes where humans can be found. Mice and rats, ideal snake food, are encouraged by the rubbish we create and the food we grow. Inevitably, when snakes and man collide, it's the snakes that lose out. Snakes evolved from lizard-like ancestors 130 million years ago. They're latecomers in the reptile world, And because of that, they're superbly adapted to life on Earth. This monitor lizard displays many of the physical traits snakes have lost along the road of evolution. Eyelids that blink. Snakes lack eyelids. Instead, their eyes are protected by a modified scale called the spectacle. It's replaced every time the snake sheds its skin. Another difference between snakes and lizards. Snakes have no external ears. Instead, they pick up sounds as vibrations in their lower jaw bones. But hang on, surely snakes can hear. We've all seen footage of snake charmers playing music to enchanted serpents. The truth is, the cobra is being mesmerized by the movement of the instrument. And there's little risk of the snake charmer being bitten either, as they traditionally sew the snake's lips shut. Of course, the other difference between lizards and snakes is that lizards have powerful legs. So how and why did snakes lose their legs? And how can we be sure their ancestors possessed such seemingly essential tools? We can get an idea of snake evolution by looking at their modern-day cousins. Some lizards seem caught midway to becoming snakes. This Australian blue-tongued skink has legs that can hardly support its own body. And the burrowing skink seems even closer to a snake. So snake-like are these lizards that perhaps their bodies are adapting to the same pressure that drove the evolution of true snakes. One of the most popular theories of snake evolution is that their bodies were initially designed for burrowing. Once underground, snakes no longer needed eyes, so they became blind, and legs would have hindered their movements. They only emerged and developed their unique eyes once small mammals had evolved topside as food. So if small legs are an advantage when burrowing, maybe having no legs is even better. One creature that hints at this next stage in the snake's evolution is the European slowworm. It's a lizard in every way except one. It has no visible legs. Even so, beneath its skin, its skeleton retains remnants of the limbs its ancestors shed. But this must be the ultimate in snake-like lizards. It's a worm lizard, or Amphisbaenium, and it's found all over southern Europe. The ancient Greeks believed them to be deadly poisonous, but in fact, they're harmless, burrowing, legless lizards. This, on the other hand, is a true snake, a python, and we can prove its ancestors had limbs. The clue lies towards the end of its tail. Pythons have what's known as a vestigial or remnant claw on either side of their body. You can see the claw here on the skeleton, attached to the snake's pelvis. Male pythons use their claws to stimulate their mates during courtship. You might think that lacking limbs would be a disadvantage when it comes to moving. But as this 17-foot python shows, snakes can reach the parts other reptiles can't reach. The design of their skeleton is crucial. Snakes have around 400 pairs of ribs. Look closely. The bulges on these ribs show where the bones were broken while the snake was still alive. With so many ribs, snakes can afford to crack one or two. Without this magnificent skeleton, snakes wouldn't be able to move with such grace. Uniquely, snakes' ribs can rotate where they join the backbone and are connected by specialized muscles, allowing their bodies to bend and coil in every direction. Considering the range of habitats in which they're found, it's obvious that being legless isn't a disadvantage to snakes. In fact, it's the opposite. Snakes can even change the way they move according to their size and the surface on which they're found. And it's all thanks to the unique arrangement of their muscles and ribs. It's a body form that's allowed snakes to specialize. They can even climb vertically up and down, a skill even the greatest human climber could never match. Vipers and rattlesnakes are the ultimate specialists. Using a corkscrew style of motion, they sidewind over the burning desert sands. By keeping only 2 points of their body in contact with the ground at any one time, they avoid overheating. This is the horned rattlesnake of North America. And snakes can be fast. The hissing sand snake is one of the fastest. Notable for neither living in sand nor hissing, it can travel up to 11 kilometers an hour in pursuit of prey or avoidance of predators. But don't panic. It's unlikely that any snake could chase and catch up with you. And snakes are expert swimmers, remaining submerged for up to an hour at a time. Known as anguilliform motion, snakes swim in exactly the same way as they slither over land, bending their body in an S shape that travels from head to tail, pushing the water behind it. It's all thanks to their unique muscles and ribs. But there's another way for snakes to move that instead relies on the gripping action of their scales. As the scales of this puff adder grip the forest floor, muscles contract to pull its body forward. The snake moves with a concertina-like motion. It's only possible because the belly scales overlap in all directions except behind them. The scales stick into the ground like the ridges on a tank's tracks. Scales aren't just used for moving. They also show off a snake's true colors. If you're deadly venomous, it's best for creatures to steer clear. So to avoid predators, many deadly snakes display brightly colored warnings. The American coral snake advertises its status as a killer with bands of yellow, red, and black. Using bright colors to advertise that you're deadly is a trick other species have evolved to exploit. King snakes are non-venomous, so in defense they've evolved to look like their deadly cousin, the coral snake. Even to a snake expert, they can be hard to tell apart. So remember this. it could save your life. Red and yellow, kill a fellow. Red and black, venom lack. But which of these is the deadly snake? Red next to black. This is a harmless scarlet king snake. Red next to yellow. This American coral snake is worth staying clear of. Most king snakes, this is the Mexican king snake, specialize in killing and eating other snakes, but they gain protection from their markings. This Californian king snake lacks the red bands altogether, but its striped pattern may still afford some protection. The snake world is full of colour. Their bodies display a vast array of patterns. But the scales themselves are clear. It's the layer of skin beneath that contains the pigment. This is important, as it allows snakes to shed their skin without losing their markings. Scales are so important to a snake's looks that they're polished clean and shiny with special oils secreted from a snake's nose. Many snakes rely on colour to hide them from predators or prey. This European adder's body is a perfect match to the surrounding bracken. The dappled forest floor matches this puff adder's patterning, keeping the snake perfectly hidden. If you're lucky, it'll move off as you approach. Lacking ears, it detects the vibrations of your feet through its jawbone. It's just as well it does. Puff adders have one of the most potent venoms of all snakes. Here's another disappearing act. A gaboon viper melts into the African forest floor. It not only hides it from enemies, but also from prey as it lies in wait. So watch your step. Its flat triangular head contains some of the largest venom sacs of any species. Snakes take on many guises. If you're a tree climber and hunt in the canopy, then it pays to look like a tree, and this green mamba is extremely good at that. Snakes may be deadly, but they're also vulnerable to attack. They've devised many devious methods of defense. We've already met those that use camouflage. Those that warn of their deadly nature with bright colors. And those that just pretend to be deadly. But there are other means of avoiding attack. Some snakes, like this grass snake, play dead to fool their enemies. To add to the effect, it smells as if it's rotting, releasing a foul-smelling ooze from glands near the tip of its tail. Coming back to life only when danger has passed. Others try to appear larger than life, a trick perfected by the cobra. It can enlarge its neck by contracting muscles between specially elongated ribs. The expanded hood is a deterrent to any would-be predator. But some cobras have another unique method of defense. They can spit deadly venom with great accuracy, straight into the eyes of their enemies. It's the same venom they use to bite. At high speed and in a fine spray, this venom can travel 12 feet. So how's it done? The spitting cobra's skull is greatly modified. Hollow fangs are fixed in place at the front of the mouth, and are relatively small and round. The salivary glands that produce the venom are completely enclosed and surrounded by strong muscles. By contracting these muscles, the venom is forced down the fangs and out through forward-facing holes at their tips. The spit is given even more momentum by the cobra rearing its head. It's like taking a run-up before throwing a ball. The height and high angle also allows the venom to travel further and makes it more likely to strike its enemy in the eyes, where it causes instant and intense pain and can even blind. While opening its mouth, the cobra exposes a feature common to all snakes, a tube-like device called the glottis. This acts like a diver's snorkel, enabling the cobra to continue to breathe even when swallowing large prey. Then there are the snakes that ward off intruders by making a noise. Few people need to be told what species makes this sound. Every time a rattlesnake sheds its skin, the last scales at the end of its tail fail to fall away and are added to the rattle. The scales fit loosely together, so when shaken produce the characteristic noise. The rattle also serves to draw the attention of predators or prey away from the snake's venom-loaded head. Like all snakes, rattlers won't bite unless provoked. It costs them too much energy to waste their venom. But if you hear this noise, you know it's a warning to stay away. So effective is the rattlesnake's defense that the trick has been copied by many other species. And if you heard this sound, would you take the time to look closely? The creature making this rattle is a gopher snake. Not only does it look similar to a rattler, it does a very good impersonation too. But lacking a rattle, it uses its voice, hissing the sound while wiggling the end of its tail against rocks for added effect. Besides being an effective defense, camouflage is essential in allowing snakes to get close enough to kill their prey. Thanks to the unique arrangement of their muscles and ribs, snakes are primed to kill in two distinct ways. First, the strike. Let's see that again. It's estimated that worldwide 100,000 people die each year from snake bites. Figures are greatest in the tropics, where barefooted workers stumble across sleeping or slow-moving snakes. In an instant, the mouth is pumped full of venom. Let's see it again in slow motion. Our camera runs at 25 frames per second. So this strike takes just over 1/25th of a second. Of the 700 species of snake that use venom to kill their prey, 2/3 can be deadly to man. Many people are terrified of a snake's forked tongue, but in fact, it's quite harmless. The tongue is used for smelling the surroundings, sampling the air, and relaying scent molecules to a specialized area in the roof of the mouth, called the Jacobson's organ. But it's the snake's venom-injecting fangs that do the damage. This is the skull of a rattlesnake. Like all vipers, its fangs are not only positioned in the front of the mouth, but they're hinged and can be folded along the jawline when not in use. And there's a row of smaller teeth behind the fangs that hold prey tight while the venom's injected. Snakes primarily use